Hello everyone, this is David Collins from Ann Arbor Guitars, back to talk to you about the results from our tone capacitor survey we released about 4 weeks ago. Since that time we've had about 45 participants in the survey, and I think it's time to look over the results. Since I've had a number of questions as to how and why we did these tests, maybe first we should start with our methods and our motives, a quick review. First point, I have no vested interest in whether tone capacitors, fancy dielectrics, expensive boutique caps do or don't have any effect on tone directly. I don't sell them and I don't have any problem with those who do. But I simply want to know the honest truth. As a respected professional among both my clients and colleagues, I feel I owe it to them to ensure my recommendations and information I pass on to them is as accurate as I can make it. This is my motive in its entirety. Simply to keep my advice based on the best information available and to avoid inadvertently selling snake oil just because I didn't take the time to do the research. Now on to the methods. It's easy to say, well, why can't you just change the caps, listen to how it sounds, and make up your mind from there? It's not that hard. Well, actually it is that hard. As humans, we are programmed to fool ourselves, to hear differences where none may exist. And carrying out a test to make sure that you are accurately and objectively identifying real differences without subjective influence that has nothing to do with the test material at all is in fact very difficult. Here are a few excerpts from a presentation James Johnston, audio expert James Johnston, gave at the Audio Engineering Society Convention in 2009, which I find quite relevant and very well put.
Well, you focus on specific instances at a given time. You can listen over and over and over and focus on different things each time, but that in fact is often the problem. If I play the same thing twice, you listen to two different things, you will remember two different things. This isn't hallucination, this isn't deception, this is how your brain works. The problem is if you expect a difference, you're going to listen for different things and you hear different things, even if you have the same stimulus. And that's one of the really important points about doing any kind of auditory testing. If you listen to something differently for different features, you will remember different things. That's because out of that big sea of data, you extracted a different piece of it. It's just how we work. It's not an illusion. It's none of those pejorative words. It's just how the human being works. So this makes the point, whenever you do auditory testing, that any test that you do for auditory stimuli has to have a falsifiable design. It means you have to actually be able to tell if there's something you actually detected or if it's something that you either consciously or subconsciously steered yourself into noticing. You have to be able to test that. Now what this basically means, you have to do a blind test. Because if you know what the two things are, your brain is going to use that information. I don't care how smart you are, how trained you are, who you are. There hasn't been an example yet of somebody who can avoid it.
Now hold on a second. Let's go back and listen to that part again.
If you know what the two things are, your brain is going to use that information. I don't care how smart you are, how trained you are, who you are. There hasn't been an example yet of somebody who can avoid it. It's just life. It is not delusion. It's nothing of the sort. It's the way the brain works.
Everyone may like to think of themselves as immune to placebo effect, but in the end it comes down to this. If you're human, it happens, period. Being fooled to perceive a change where there is none doesn't make you a fool or bring into question your ability to discern audio qualities. It makes you human, and no one can avoid this. Now, to make things more complicated, unlike testing stereo equipment, with guitars and other instruments, it's not only listening, but also the production of the tone that becomes interactive. It means that even if the listener doesn't know what they're hearing, if the player knows, it becomes impossible to assure that they aren't applying a slightly different nuance to the attack or enthusiasm as the tested variables are changed. For this reason, it's critical that tests be made double-blind if you want the results to be credible. In our capacitor test, even I didn't know which positions were the odd one out until I opened the sealed records just yesterday to prepare for this follow-up video. Anyway, on to the survey results. We had about 650 views so far, 45 survey participants. We're not going to count them all, though. If you recall, in test number 5, we actually changed the capacitor value. This was somewhat for entertainment, so you would actually hear a change, but also to help filter out the results. Since we can't control the listener's environment, whether they're listening through an iPhone or through some low quality laptop speakers, we needed some way to filter out those who really had no chance of hearing a difference, even if there were one. In this case, results came back about 70% positive on test 5, where a known difference, a well-established difference with capacitor value was made. So we took that 30% who gave the wrong answer on the test 5, on the qualifier test, and we wiped those from the results, leaving us with a total of 31 participants who did answer question 5 correctly and qualified to be counted in the analysis for the prior 4. Okay, on to test 1, tone on 10. 1 paper and oil bumblebee against 3 ceramic, all tested at the same value. Bumblebee was in position B, which received 5 votes. Just in case of anomalies, the ceramics were marked with each with a red, blue, and black marker, so we could track them individually just in case there were any nuances that caused a consistent change with one of those caps. The blue ceramic in this case got 2 votes, red saw 8, none for black, and 16 of the 31 qualifiers said no difference at all. On to test 2. Tone on 10, putting a solid conductor, or a paper clip in this case, as the odd one out among 3 ceramics. Here the paper clip was in position D, which received 2 votes as the odd position out. The black ceramic got 4 votes, the blue and red 3 each, and 19 said no difference. On to test 3. Now we have the tone control rolled all the way back. This gives you the most ideal opportunity to hear a difference as possible. The tone cap is fully engaged in the circuit. No more resistor, no more tone pot getting in the way to interfere. The results? Test 3, the bumblebee got 1 vote. Red had 5, black and blue saw 4 each, with 17 votes left for no difference. Oh well, let's try again. On to test 4. The bumblebee fared better with 4 votes. Unfortunately, the red ceramic got 4 as well. The black was just behind at 3, and bringing up the rear came blue at 2 votes. 18 listeners still voted no difference at all. As far as individual voter scores on the test overall, there was no one voter who got any more than 2 out of the 4 first tests correct. So there you have it. Now, I should take a moment to criticize this test before others most certainly will. There's certainly a number of flaws with it. First, it was a small sampling size. It was not for lack of opportunity, however. I put this and this video spread among all sorts of forums and online communities that are quite insistent about the change in tone capacitors being very real. Many people watched it from those they had the opportunity, but I can't really blame them for not voting, because if you don't hear a difference after the first 6, 7, 8 minutes of a video, it's kind of hard to keep watching. Still, 31 participants after qualifying through test 5 isn't bad. I feel comfortable with that. Next common complaint, YouTube audio compression. Now this certainly does have some legitimacy to it. This concern is real. YouTube does compress the audio, and it does compromise the quality slightly. Let's put it in context though. Let's remember that 70% of the listeners in this test did in fact identify the difference in value correctly in test number 5, 0.015 microfarad against 0.022. So it's not as if the compression sucks every bit of tone out of the signal. I think the change in tone would have to be remarkably subtle, in fact, for it to be so small that the YouTube audio compression would obliterate any chance of identifying it completely. It would have to be far less than the distinct character many people purport to hear between different capacitor types. And I should make clear that this is just a tiny sampling of the testing I've done over the years. I've conducted similar blind tests in person with many experienced players. I've used all sorts of guitars, Fender, Gibson, single coils, humbuckers, played through Fender, Ampeg, Marshall, Roland amps. I've tried paper and oil against ceramic, polypropylene, polyethylene, paper and wax, you name it. I've tested all sorts of variation in person without any YouTube audio compression, and so far the results have been pretty much the same as what I've seen in this video result. No one I've met, whether in person or through a YouTube video, has ever been able to consistently identify an odd position out once the tests are truly carried out blind. Now, if you want fancy caps in your guitar just because you like them, you like the way they look, they're more vintage correct, that's quite fine. I actually can identify with that. I prefer slightly better than the cheapest components in my instruments, even if they have no appreciable direct influence on tone. If you're interested in nothing more than the functional results, though, I would suggest investing your time and money elsewhere. Changing capacitor value certainly has an effect on the way the tone control works if you actually use it, if you roll it back enough. But the different dielectric materials, they seem to only make as much change as the player or listener believes that they will, for whatever that's worth. So there you have it. I promise we will be coming out with more videos. We have a number of other videos in the works on electrical changes and components and different wiring schemes that actually do have an effect. The different potentiometer values for volume and tone, how linear differs from audio, treble bleed circuits, tone capacitor values, 50s versus modern wiring, independent versus master volume, no load pots, all sorts of things where we're going to show you in the coming months things that actually do affect a difference and will help you reshape your controls if you so desire to meet your needs a little bit better. There are also a whole lot of other things we want to get into, testing more acoustical properties or demonstrating other questionable concerns like stainless steel versus nickel frets or plastic versus bone bridge pins on an acoustic, all sorts of things that may have a little influence under the right circumstances, maybe they don't. But we want to go through and put out the best evidence available for anyone who wants to use it. There are lots of resources you can go to online for advice and information on different components, factors, upgrades, modifications to your instruments. We want to make sure to keep some balance in it to make sure at least some of that information is accurate. So if you like what we're doing, please like us here on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook at Ann Arbor Guitars or find us online at AnnArborGuitars.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.